Hello, and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready, where today we thought we'd take a look at Games Workshop's most recent marketing.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of weird stuff. Oh, I shouldn't say weird, but they do a lot of different things. And it used to be when we first joined the hobby, and I'm sure they've done other things before then, but if they would come out with these versus boxes, right? It was like, oh, here's
Caradron versus Zinch.
Yes.
Slanesh versus Daughters.
Yes. And so that was sort of cool because you could get two forces. And it was really cool for us in particular because I was looking to get new armies, right? So it's not like I had a whole system or whatever. I'm like, hey, I want to get Zinch and Caradron. Those are both cool. Hey, I want to get Daughters and Slanesh. Those are both cool. So it sort of worked out for us. But they don't really do that anymore.
No.
What do they do now?
They do army boxes.
They do the army boxes, the Fomo boxes. You know what Fomo is?
Fear of missing out.
Oh, well, I don't know if you know. I don't know. Don't look at me like that. All right. So what Drake has just learned today probably is what FOMO means. But yeah, so they get these boxes that are one-time deals basically that have a bunch of the new
fancy dancy units
stuff in it, right? And so the question I thought is, okay, they've obviously moved from the last thing to this thing because they think that this is better. It's going to be more effective, or it's cheaper to do, or whatever. But for the consumer, for us, for us war gamers, is it better? What do you think?
I say no.
You say no. Interesting. Okay, I think I have the opposite opinion. So tell me what you think.
I say no because if someone's looking to get into Warhammer, you buy that one box, you have everything you need to play with a buddy, basically.
That is true. So I think if you are in the position that we were in, where you're new to Warhammer, or I should say new to AOS, right? You want to get into AOS, then yeah, I think the Versus boxes are actually
way better.
Pretty good. Pretty good. What else?
I say the Versus boxes are better is because if you're just buying, you get two armies with cool toys instead of one army with cool toys.
I think that's true, but here's the negative on that one. So let's say that you are like us now, and let's say they came out with a Skaven versus Fyreslayers box, which could happen.
It definitely could happen.
Then
they have a history of hating each other.
For sure. So then we might be like, oh, look at all this new Skaven stuff. We want the Skaven stuff. But we don't even collect Fyreslayers. I don't want Fire. And certainly don't want to pay for the Fyreslayer stuff I'm not going to use.
Wait. But if they're coming with a new box with cool Skaven stuff, theoretically, that also means there's cool new Fyreslayer stuff that looks awesome, and they're not stupid naked baby dwarves.
Okay, let's just say for purposes of this, that I'm not interested in those Fyreslayers models.
That's a little bit rough, but hey, use them to get a buddy excited in Warhammer.
Well, I think that what a lot of people did before, and I think would make sense, is you split it with somebody.
Yeah.
You find a buddy, and you're like, hey, this thing's expensive, because
Warhammer.
Games Workshop, right, expensive. And so you're just like, all right, how about we split it down the middle?
I'll take half.
The Daughters half, you take the Slanesh half. And be like, okay, cool. So I think that is certainly there. However, I have to say that for me, or I should say, it was really good when we were getting into the hobby because it gave us a bunch of stuff at a discount, right? But now it gets harder to do that because let's say they come out with a Versus box and it's Daughters versus Slanesh, let's just say. You know what's going to be in there?
Daughters versus Slanesh.
No.
Oh,
Doomfire Warlocks.
Oh, no.
That's what they're going to be in there. And so then even though if I want it, I'm like, I don't want to buy more Doomfires. Every box has stupid Doomfires in it, right?
They give Doomfire so much hype, but they're so bad.
They're just not... They might be a little bit better now, but they just never have, at least on our table, they have never performed well.
They've never performed.
No, never, not once. So
they've never cast their spell ever.
I feel like, God, even at this point, if you're somebody who already has, even if you're interested in the army, maybe you have some of that stuff already, right? Maybe you already have the Doomfires. Maybe you already have Thunderers, and you feel like, man, I got a lot of Thunderers. I don't need any more Thunderers, so I don't really need.
You always need more Thunderers.
That could be true, for sure. And so it's like, I could see that being way more difficult to get into for people that are already playing. I think that's a better system for somebody that wants to get into the game initially. And I think it's really good for somebody like us that wanted to get into it in sort of a big way, right? Where when we started playing, right, we had Stormcast and Nighthaunt, and I was already like, ooh, tell me about them Seraphons. Ooh, tell me about those Caradrons. Ooh, tell me about, what's Nurgle like? So we already were interested in collecting multiple armies and doing that sort of thing. So I think those were particularly good for us. But how many people do you think are like that?
I would say quite a few.
3? You think of quite a few?
Yeah.
I don't think there's that many. I think that's probably a distinct minority. Are there some? Sure, we're evidence of it, right? But I think most people aren't going to drop that much money on a new game. I think most people are going to have 1 or 2 armies that they like and that they can take to their local get-together with their friends or whatever, right? So they're not like we were buying multiple armies, so we would both have multiple things to play each time, right? So I think it's pretty small, and I wonder if that's part of the reason that they decided to stop doing that. Plus, also those versus boxes. Each side would typically get like 1 new hero, and then everything else was stuff you already had, right? Which again, we didn't have it. Good for us. But if you were somebody who already had all that stuff, it's not
I
good.
don't know. I still think the versus boxes are better than the army boxes.
All right, well, let me try to make the case for army boxes and see if you change your mind here. So here's why I think army box. What?
Impossible.
It's impossible. Just digging his heels. Here's why I think the army boxes, the Fomos, are better. One, the main reason is because at least so far, they've been all new models. They've just been all new models. So if you buy them, you're not getting any repeats.
But well, that
You're not getting it. Yeah, okay, that's true, right? These things could change, and they might change this system and go to another system that's worse than the 2 of them together, right? For sure. But at least right now, you get stuff that's all new. You can get all the Dark Oath, right? Or I mean, a lot of the Dark Oath. You can get a bunch of the Gits, right? The Git mob, right? And it's like when you get it, you are getting something new. You are not getting. You're not playing the Doomfire Warlock tax, right? Where you have to buy stuff you already have. You're like, well, it's still sort of a deal. I have some extra models. It's like, oh no, I'm getting the new stuff. I think that is pretty cool. That I think is the number one. And I sort of, at this point in our sort of hobby experience, I like that it's one army. I like that it's one because when the next one comes out for Idoneth Deepkin, I can just pass, right? I can just be like, we don't collect Idoneth. I think they look sort of cool. If you like them, great. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't think they're terrible in any way, but I don't collect them. So I can sort of save my wallet and be like, you know what? I'll save for the next thing. Whereas, what if it was like Idoneth and Nurgle? I was like, those new Nurgle units are so cool, but I don't want to get Idoneth stuff.
It would be better if. So hold on, for versus boxes,
Okay.
I would like to make the case that they change them to be new spearheads.
See, that's different though. Now, yes. So if you did something like that, then we could talk about it. We could say, ooh, this does have other advantages in it, right? But they haven't done that yet. So we can't talk about what they might do.
It's still a versus box.
We can't talk about what they might do in the future. We have to talk about what we've actually seen. And I think what we've actually seen, I really like that it's one army. I like that it's one army. You can just get the stuff that you want. And I like that it's new. I like that you're not paying any kind of tax. You're just, I guess other than sales tax, but you're just buying the stuff that you want, right? And then eventually that sells out, right? The army box sells out, they'll be gone forever. And then you can just buy the thing separately, fine. So there's no like exclusive, because sometimes in those versus boxes, like the Caradron guy, the Endrin Master with dirigible suit, you could only get him in that box.
And it's gone.
For a long time. I think you can get them separately now. Maybe it took like 6 months or a year or something to get them out separately. But for a long time, he was locked to that box and you couldn't get the guy. Whereas now the army boxes are like, hey, if you're here at the moment and you want a discount, I mean, it's Games Workshop, so it's not that big a discount. But if you know, a little bit of a discount, great. And then if you know, it's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks or whatever, and then boom, all the other stuff, it all gets released individually, which I really like. So there's no gatekeeping. There's nothing where you're like, oh, that stupid Versus box. I really want that model, but I don't want to pay a Versus box price for one little guy, right? So I think that the FOMO boxes are really good. They are very, very good for the
Experience.
hobbyists. Yes, for somebody who's already in the hobby. They're very
I think we
good.
should just do both.
You know what? I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think the Games Workshop probably can't
Manage.
or won't produce that much stuff. I think that that's certainly true, but there's no reason they couldn't, right?
There's some old Games Workshop 40K kits they could stop making.
Yeah, get rid of. Who even plays 40K, right? Who even plays 40K?
Only like 100 million people.
But you know what you could do is you could have like on a rotating basis of Versus boxes that are, and having them be spearheads would be way even better. But even if they didn't do spearheads, but you could have rotating boxes where like, all right, for the first 2 months of the year, it's like 2 start collectings, right? It's Ideneth versus Night Haunt for the first 2 months of the year. And then so if you and a friend want to get into it, you can get that. And then for the second 2 months of the year, so March and April, it's Nurgle versus Slanesh. And then the next one, it's OBR versus Ogres. Exactly. And so if you were interested in getting into those armies, or you had a friend that you wanted to play with, they would still be limited release. And then you would still have for 4th edition, the starter set is Stormcast and Rats.
Yeah.
So you keep that for the full 1st edition, right? For the whole edition, I mean. But then you could have these little Versus box that sort of rotated around. I think that'd be sort of cool.
Although that's what they're doing with beginner starter set, ultimate starter set.
Yeah, but those are all Stormcast and Rats. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying if you wanted to do like the medium starter set with 2 other factions, because some people aren't going to like Stormcast and Rats. They're like, I don't want to play Rats. And the Golden Boys look dumb. I think they look cool. But maybe other people could say they look dumb. And they're like, but hey, those Bone Construct guys fighting against those ogres, that seems pretty cool. And so you'd get more people in sort of that starter. I think that's a good idea. But they're not doing that. They're not going to do that probably. It's too good of an idea.
Write letters.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Hey, Games Workshop, guess what? We came up with a great idea for you.
Yeah.
But other than that,
5-paragraph essay.
yeah, there you go. But other than that, I really do think that the FOMO boxes, the army boxes, are better for basically everyone else. I think,
everyone else.
yes, I think if you're experienced, you're in the hobby, it's good because it's focusing on new things. I think if you're wanting to get into the hobby, it's good because it gets you sort of a lot for the one army.
But then
right?
you have to buy 2 boxes.
Why?
Like 2 different FOMO boxes.
Why?
No, for you and a buddy. To play
Oh yeah, right. If you want to have a buddy, that's different. But I think that's a smaller population because I think most people want to buy stuff for themselves, and I think finding a buddy to like split it with can be sort of a hassle, right? Because then your buddy, like let's say you want the daughter's side, you've got to find a buddy that plays Slanesh. What if your buddy doesn't play Slanesh? He doesn't want to split it with you then, right? So I think it is a little bit more of a hassle. I don't think it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I just think the new way probably appeals to more people. And certainly for me, I find it more appealing. I much prefer this system of army boxes and things like that sort of package in the new stuff than the Versus boxes, which were mostly old stuff and like one new model. But it was okay for us because it wasn't old to us. It was new to us.
I don't know. I've made my point.
You're sticking with it?
Yep.
Sticking with it.
Versus boxes are better.
All right. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you enjoy the Versus boxes? Do you like the FOMO army boxes better? Is there something that they could do even better? I do think the idea of like packaging 2 spearheads together, almost like they did with Skaventide, right? It had 2 spearheads in it. If you did something like that, and maybe 3 months, however long, but like for a limited time, here are 2 spearheads from 2 armies that you could get sort of start your way into AOS, I think that would be really good. I think the only thing keeping people back from that one is probably price, right? Probably that would be, to get 2 full spearheads, it would probably be a little expensive. And so that's why they have the medium and the small starters, right? But if you had one at like the medium level and you could do that, I think that'd be really good. I think that is a good idea. All right, let us know in the comments below. Any final thoughts?
I think we got them all.
All right, this has been
All the thoughts have been gotten.
they've all been gathered. All right, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Win!
Thanks so much for watching.